Dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Bonus episode KOH 2021, Chris.
Woohoo!
Getting ramped up here, and we've been hammering out the content, and we said, hey, we got to do some separate episodes. We had so much content, we had to separate it.
Oh yeah, no, it's
got to keep them separated.
Keeping me busy, that's for sure.
So
some of the editing content,
yes,
and editing chores to you.
The stuff that yes. Well, hey, I'm just the star of the show. You do all the networking stuff here.
Oh, okay, I see. You're the talent, right?
I help plug in cables, and that's about the extent of my electrical knowledge.
Nice.
So, Kevin Jones,
yes, sir.
Ultra4Jones,
yep.
Who we went down to his shop.
Yeah, that was last month.
Yeah. And, we said, hey, we want to crank out a couple episodes with you.
Yep.
Live in person before KOH. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that had been on my mind, and Kevin and I had talked extensively about it, and then we said, hey, we could do a whole podcast on tools.
Kevin Jones, After Hours.
Yes, it was. It was After Hours. But during this podcast, you kept referring to it as like it was a whole different. You were trying to keep it untimely, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. So you're like, yeah. So anyways,
I don't know. I have to go back and listen to it.
It's pretty
again.
good. Yeah, you listen to it and you'll see.
There might have been some adult beverages.
There was definitely some
late.
adult beverages in your camp there, but
After Hours.
It was a good episode talking about different tools and things, right, and how you can combo up and what do you bring on the trail, and of course it's going to be, there's some specialty tools for each rig, but I think we came up with a pretty good list, and this is going to be continued. I guarantee that, because I am not. As I'm, a week plus away from KOH now, I've totally rethought my tool bag for the buggy, and I've changed some things up. So after talking with Kevin Jones, after talking with Jimmy from Snail Trail and some of the gear wrench tools that are offered, haven't got any gear wrench tools yet, but Jimmy and I...
Oh, you didn't get that 10 millimeter?
No, I did get the 10 millimeter.
Well, you got that going for
I know, so I do have that. But I don't even know what's 10 millimeter on my buggy. I don't think there's anything 10 millimeter on my buggy.
So I found out, because I changed the headlights on my Ram this last week.
Yeah.
And the grill... The bolts that hold the grill on my truck are 10 millimeter.
Oh, well, there you go.
And the headlight, the two bolts that hold the headlight assemblies in are 10 millimeter.
Okay.
And I just happened to have a gear wrench 10 millimeter socket.
Did you really?
I did.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, I used it.
Nice. So, and you didn't lose it?
Not yet.
I see it sitting here on your desk. You keep it on this little red velvet piece, so you can't lose your 10 millimeter socket.
It's got a tile tracker on it. Yeah. I'm
there you go. So when it falls into the engine bay, you can find it. Or it's still in the engine bay.
Or find it on the Rubicon.
It didn't fall on the ground.
Right, exactly.
So, dude, there is an 8 millimeter socket. If Rich is listening to this podcast, that bought my old truck, my 97, F350.
Yep.
There's an 8 millimeter socket in the valley, intake valley there of the truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we were working on the turbo, put a new turbo in, upgraded the turbo, and dropped it down there. Could not get it with a magnet or anything, so I'm like, it's just going to live there. And
what that rattling sound is.
It's been there forever. It's a really deep valley underneath the intake manifold of the Fords there, the 7.3s.
Back when they built good engines.
I do miss that truck. It was a fun truck to drive, stick shift, 6-speed manual. And that 7.3, but I'll tell you what, man.
You roll coal with that thing.
You could. That was a great thing. You crank it up to 100 horsepower increase with the Bully Dog chip there that I had, selectable chip. And you just sit there at a stoplight and rev it up.
It's illegal.
And it just rolled coal. I called it Prius repellent.
Well, there you go.
But I can't do that with my new truck. It runs so damn clean, you don't even know it's freaking diesel. But the way that thing performs... I am so happy, and I just came back from a 4-hour road trip right now, and it's super comfortable. I'm refreshed, and my back is massaged, and
geez.
I had the seat heater on all the way home, and it's 75 degrees out.
Notice Lorenzo is still sitting in the truck.
Yeah, he's still in there. The engine's running. We got the air conditioner on for him. So
yeah, it's like 74 degrees outside. Right
this is stupid. Okay, we're going way off the rails here
right?
down this. But anyway, so we recorded this extra content with Kevin and got into some good conversations about tools and what to carry. So so let's go ahead and get into that, Chris.
All right, let's roll it.
All right, Chris, we're talking tool tech right now.
Hell yeah.
With an Ultra4 racer, Kevin Jones, is in studio with us. And we just wanted to, throw out some knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Or experience, I should say, from us. Not that this is necessarily the way that you should roll, but some tidbits and
advice,
ideas that can help you out. So, all the years of four-wheeling, shit happens out on the trail.
Does it?
Things go sideways. Something breaks, especially if you're with the guy Toyota in your group.
If you got Toyota,
Toyota tools. We should call this Toyota tool talk.
You just need a 10 millimeter wrench, right? Just 10 millimeter.
10 and an 8 millimeter, and you're
10,
good.
12, 14, 17.
And a 14, 17.
Yeah,
you're right.
That'll fit everything on a
So
Toyota.
you don't need a 1 5/8.
No.
You're a wrench ratchet.
No, 1
well,
5/8.
it makes a good hammer.
So we got Kevin Jones in the house.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Chris and I. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing good, guys.
So let's just kind of brainstorm, if you will, just kind of a roundtable talk of tools that you carry in your rig and how you carry them. Because I know I'm for years I had 2 metal toolboxes with one that was like all sockets. And, the wrenches and everything to go with that. And then my other toolbox had all the screwdrivers and pliers and wrenches.
This is in your CJ.
Combination. Yeah, for the Jeep.
Right.
And pretty much 98% of the tools that I built my Jeep with, I carried with me on the trail. And it got me through for 20 plus years.
Well, so you said a valid key point right there. 98% of the tools.
Correct.
So, Kevin, tell us, you've got this race car. When you're working on the rig in your garage, do you work on the car with the tools you carry in the car, or do you work on the car with the tools in your garage?
Well, I wish I could say I'm got some perfect answer, but it's more like an eloquent shit show. So
eloquent. I love it.
Shit show.
Everything. I don't have the luxury of having 2 sets of tools. Yeah, I have 2 of some things, and I have some stuff I keep in my F-250. But when it comes to working on the race car and then going out for, desert trip or race or whatever, if I got it out of the toolbox and used it to put the car back together, I don't put it away. I put it on the bench. And then when I load the car up to go to the race, I just scrape everything off the bench into tool bags, and I take it with me.
Right.
So hopefully the logic is I hit Jason's number of 98%, and I bring everything I need with me that I use to put the car together. So,
well, the goal, I guess that's the goal. But, I mean, so when we were down at your place, Jason and you, I kind of supervised, but when we were down at your place, we watched.
You drank while we were working on the car.
Yeah, I did drink, and I watched you guys work on a lot of different things, and
spinning wrenches.
But there's items that you would think that would never have to be worked on the car during a race, and so I mean, how would you determine what? I guess is that you see where I'm kind of going with this question?
I hear where you're going with it, like. I mean, there's things that people for sure 100% plan on, right? Like changing a flat tire. So you've got what you need to change a flat tire. That goes without saying. But at some point you draw the line, and I mean, you don't have you're not planning on taking the motor mounts out or something like that, So for me, a lot of it is anything that would gain us access. So all the tools it takes to pull the body panels off.
Right.
You're going to need to get access to anything. And then under that access, what's in there that you're ready to deal with? Now, can you fix a wicked exhaust leak with some baling wire and some hose clamps or something. Like, yeah, okay. So there's maybe some universal stuff. But more than that, it's like, well, what spare parts am I truly ready to change? And if I'm ready to change an alternator, then I need the tools to do that. So I need the 13, the 15, the 10 millimeter, to change the alternator.
Okay. All right.
So there's all these, so the basic stuff. I mean, like combination wrenches, you pointed out like alternator. Okay, maybe you got some electrical to do. So you got some electrical, dikes and crimpers and your butt connectors and stuff, whatever.
Yeah, like I trust the electrical on my car very, very little.
Do you? Very, very little.
Very, very little.
I was expecting very, very.
So
I was going to say very. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
In my tool bag, I have like spools of 10
wire.
gauge.
I noticed that.
And, and everything I need. Like I could recreate any circuit on my car.
Wow.
Out of my like electrical bag.
Nice.
Wow.
So and this is what I'm struggling with right now because, like I say, I had everything dialed in for the Jeep, and then I got this buggy where I have zero room to put toolboxes on. So then I went to a tool bag
but
that I'm
nothing
stuffing.
breaks on that.
No, there's that theory,
breaks,
but
period.
shit goes wrong.
No, it's so light.
Shit
Nothing
goes
can
wrong,
break.
Chris.
Nothing can break.
And
period.
it's like, okay, what what tools do you carry? What don't you? And so there's these. I heard on the, I think it was a Total Off-Road podcast that they talked about going out and buying some Harbor Freight tool set.
Oh, shit.
Well, no, but that's great because, it's going to work out on the trail. It's not like your everyday tool set that you need a really nice, quality tool set in the garage. Yeah. And if you drop it or break it or you got to cut something, you got to cut a combo wrench in half to fit some smaller, you don't feel bad about cutting up a Harbor Freight
I'll even take it a level past there, and I can't take credit for this, but if you carry junk wrenches, you're not afraid to weld them.
Exactly.
So maybe it helps you put your tie rod back together.
Right.
By welding a 3/4 and a 13/16
Right, you're not cutting up a $30 snap-on wrench to weld on where you got this $30 whole
Pittsburgh.
entire Pittsburgh Harbor Freight set. So that's something cool.
Yeah.
And then so the tool bag, and I noticed that you carry tool bags, Kevin, with a bunch of wrench rolls and stuff like that. And that's kind of the way that I've been going. I'm still playing around with a bunch of different ideas, and I don't know what the final answer will be for me, but I'm trying to find combination wrenches and stuff that take up less. And I learned from our buddies over at Snail Trail.
Gear wrench
has got some really cool stuff.
Yeah,
and they got those
quad
box wrenches that literally like 4 or 5 wrenches take up like 20 some odd wrenches.
But Toyota never has a 1 5/8.
Well, no. Let's just again, you only need 3 or 4 wrenches to work on those raisined up Toyotas, but
right.
But those quad box wrenches, and then
the pass-through sockets.
The pass-through sockets,
are badass.
And then there's the Crescent wrench, the Crescent brand, adjustable wrench, right, which is left and right hand, metric and SAE, and not only that, you can flip around the jaw and it becomes a pipe wrench. So if you got to like wrench on, some of your linkages or anything, your tie rods or anything like that, thing acts as a damn pipe wrench. So I was blown away a couple weeks ago when I went and looked at this gear wrench tool set that Tyler had in his garage of seeing. I'm like, dude, I can eliminate a shit ton of tools, still have the sizes that I need,
right,
and have a really well working wrench set for that,
right.
And I like the idea of these tool bags and stuff, and what are the specialty stuff? How do you, if you got to pull a front axle, you need everything you need to pull out a front axle.
Right.
So what is that going to entail?
When we were down at Kevin's house, we noticed when we removed the front end.
What's this wee shit? You were just sitting there watching.
Well, I was, but I was supervising.
Oh.
But the tools that he had to pull out to remove all the hardware to take out the axle shaft.
Right.
You know, what was it? He had Factor. What was that? That Factor 8 or
Stage 8.
No, stage 8.
Stage 8
Lock nuts.
locking hardware to keep everything in place. So, and then he had this big ass, pretty cool socket that's what I'm getting at. These are the things as you're working on building or
Need to be familiar with your rig.
right. You need to understand the tools you need to carry with, and I'm the same way. With a Jeep Wrangler YJ and it's a TJ, it's the same.
Does that have square headlights?
It does have square headlights.
Okay.
It's a Barbie
Just
Jeep,
checking. Oh, okay.
but it's badass now.
Just checking.
You need to make sure you have that correct wrench or socket
Tool.
to remove the nut on the front shaft, the axle shaft. So if you break in a U joint, you need to be able to deal with that.
Right.
And it's the same thing with you, Kevin, that you had to have the right tools to take out what you need to take out to work on the front end, to disassemble the front end of your rig.
Yeah.
So listeners, as you work on your rigs, understand if you're in the garage working on these things, you need to remember those are the same tools you need to carry in your rig when you're on the Rubicon, Fordyce, or where the hell ever you are.
I don't care. You could be on a logging road.
You need to have those tools with you to be able to fix your shit.
So what'd you grab over there, Kevin? I saw you rummaging through
I was just thinking, like,
toolkit.
I haven't seen this quad box thing in person, but I've got this axle wrench for my dirt bike.
Oh, I was going to say that. That's a dirt bike.
Yeah, this is how I envision, like, the quad box looking.
It's exactly like that.
Okay, so it's just a box end wrench. When you face it down on one way, it's one size, and then when you flip it over, it's the other size.
Correct. And then the opposite end of the wrench has two more sizes.
So it's pretty rad that you could get 4 sizes in one.
Yep.
That is pretty freaking cool.
I don't know what the gear wrench pass-through stuff looks like, but I've got a set of the Crescent pass-through.
Okay.
So not only...
that's made by a gear wrench, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
So not only is it pass-through and all the socket sizes to go with that, but then it even has adapters to just become
a regular
3/8 or half-inch ratchet.
Yeah, see?
So even if you don't want to use the pass-through, you can just put the little square drive adapter in.
See, and that's
pretty
super cool.
A couple of years ago, I was actually at the Lowe's or Home Depot, and I saw these things on sale, and I didn't buy them, and I really should have.
Well, you know, I have since this is a tool thing, my dad had I don't listen to everything my dad tells me to do, but he told me a long time ago that every time you need a tool, just buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Instead of calling your buddy, or maybe he was trying to prevent me from calling him.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe he didn't want his tools being pilfered.
But he said if you have a need for a tool, just go buy it instead of paying somebody to do the job or whatever it is. You know, maybe it's a shovel at your house or a wrench for your car. But he said buy the tool to help you get through that job. And you'll never be done, but the amount of things you'll be able to do for yourself will
for sure
start to become limitless.
I agree 100%. I mean, I don't have anything from my father. He's back on the East Coast, but my father-in-law inherited a lot of his tools, and he was a mechanical engineer, and he had a lot of great stuff. And I mean, I get it. It's just you just need to make sure that you have the right junk to fix your junk.
Well, yeah, and there's some like highly specialty tools that you might use once or twice, right? And those are the tools that you try and go in with your friends that are like, those torsion bar stretchers and stuff like that. That that you're not going to use, but twice in your lifetime.
What about the blinker fluid?
But it's nice to have, exactly, the blinker fluid acidity tester.
Well, I can only find the muffler bearings in packs of like 10.
See, exactly.
I usually split it with a buddy.
So you know those really highly specialty tools. I mean, let's get serious for a second. Let's get serious for a second. Here's a good one: a compression tester.
Oh yeah.
How often are you using that? Not very often, but that's a cool tool to have.
I've got a Jeep. I never need that.
And you call up a couple of your buddies and you go, dude, we need to buy a compression tester, and you split it up between 2-3 people. That's fine. But these other tools that you're going to use over and over, and you make the investment in a good quality tool for your shop, but. Like I say, I'm kind of adopting this. I like that idea of buying some cheap ass tool set for to have on your trail rig, where if you lose them, you loan them out. I'm constantly on the trail. I drive up on somebody that's broken. They're like, hey, how can I help you? Oh, we need XYZ. Okay, here you go, and usually you hang around and wait, or, hey, we're camped down the road. Can you just give it back to us? And 9 times out of 10, they bring it back and they give you $5 or something like that. But these pass-throughs are super cool because that takes the place of deep sockets.
Exactly.
You don't have to have a set of deep sockets and shallow sockets and all that other stuff. So, anyways, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. But I like there's a ton of options out there, and it's good. Sure. And I think you brought up a good point of, you need to do work on your vehicle and know what tools you need. Because if you're not familiar with your vehicle, you're not going to know, I need that 1 5/8 or whatever.
I think Kevin really made the point better. Is just like, as he said, is he works on the rig and he sweeps tools off at the end of the day or just before race time or whatever. I mean, recreational wheeling, is it really that different from rock racing or off-road? I think it is. I mean, because maybe not. I don't know.
Hey, parts break. The parts are there, whether you're driving a trail or racing KOH, right? I mean, it's being able to, get to work on parts and get the thing apart and try to fix it. You keep going. So where does this stop? Okay, we're talking about hand tools here. Well, then there's the whole line of cordless equipment, drills, taps. So if you strip something out, you break a bolt off,
but
you shear bolt. How do you get that bolt out and put a new bolt in its place? And then welder, you got a welder on board to weld shit up that breaks on the trail.
You reach a point of diminishing returns too. Who do people really carry tap and die sets on the trail?
I do.
You do.
I do.
I should wheel with you more.
See? Well, I'll tell you, and the reason is because I have done this for several years, and you go out on a trail and somebody breaks something, and you're like, oh, I need to carry that. Now, obviously, there's a weight limit and a storage
and
space limit, but and that's the great thing with, I've always said, wheeling with a club or group, because between the group, you're probably going to have parts and tools that you need, or at least you got enough people in your group where you could send a couple people back to town to go get parts.
Well,
but I'm telling you, man, I can't tell you how many times the easy outs, the tap dies, stuff like that have come in handy, and I carry spare bolts and stuff like that. Now, this is the Jeep. The buggy, I don't have all that shit.
And I understand
and that's what I'm struggling with, not being as prepared.
So so the tap and die set in your Jeep is specific to what's in the Jeep, right? I mean, you're not going to...
Well, it's all SAE.
You're not going to carry... correct.
Not,
but, you're not going to...
Not going to help the Toyotas?
No, they're beyond help.
Hell with the Toyotas.
They're beyond help. I mean, I got JB Weld for the Toyotas. Duct tape, baling wire.
JB Weld.
Got the welder,
and
so I can.
And really just a toe strap.
That's right, and a toe strap, a Toyota toe strap.
I've seen pictures of Toyotas, lifted up onto the back of Jeeps being
getting pulled out.
That's what you do, but
I don't know. So that's kind of this thing could go on for hours. But go ahead.
I mean, something just listening to you guys talk. I think about how the people that are probably like glued to the speaker right now, they're not the crazy veteran experienced trail wheeler that like has the welder and has all this stuff. They're the guy or gal that's getting started, trying to up their game a little bit, and they just want to be prepared. So I think, you want to wheel with veterans like yourself or whoever that have welders and have all the advanced tools.
Right.
But you're I think a huge component, because I'll admit, I don't want to be that guy, right?
Nobody wants to be that guy.
So when you talk about trails on the tool, there's two things that can happen. One is you could be broken and not be able to fix your shit, and you're that guy, or you could have the tool that saves somebody else's day and be that guy.
Exactly.
So I think for the people that are listening and like, well, what do I need to carry? I think you're spot on with if you carry any spare parts at all, you need to carry the tools to change those spare parts.
Exactly.
And you might as well practice it in your garage.
Yeah,
that way, when you have to do it on the trail, you're like, oh yeah, I can swap out this, alternator or this U-joint or whatever. No problem. I got this. And everybody just watches and they're like, oh, turns out this guy knows what he's doing.
Right.
But otherwise, I mean, you could end up carrying your whole garage with you. So,
and we can't.
You have to have a cutoff point.
Yeah. I think.
Well, and that's why I said, it's like when we were at your place and we watched you work on your rig, you pulled out your tool bags from the race car, and I'm like, and I made the comment, are you going to work on the car with strictly what you've got in those bags? And you said, no, I'm going to, work with what, but at some point you do have to, that's all you can work with.
I mean,
and you should practice it.
Yeah. Throughout the year, like I end up robbing from Peter to pay Paul because I don't have 2 or 3 of everything.
Right.
So
that's the thing.
Stuff that's in the race car gets pulled back into the garage, and then, maybe we just go camping as a family. And so I need that impact, and I take it in my truck, and it goes with the camper. And so all year long things get scattered. But I mean, when you talk about something like KOH or whatever, or when the car gets completely torn down and put back together,
right?
You've got every tool in your garage out, and you really need to, okay, if I got it out and it's on the bench, this 7mm combo wrench, what did I use this for? Oh yeah,
right.
I have to take the Zerk fittings out of my axles so that I can get them through the knuckle.
Right, off the U-joint.
I better take the 7mm wrench with me, because I carry spare axles.
Right.
So I think when you get the tools out and you do the work, it makes you think about, what that tool does. And
well, it's the winner attitude, right? I mean, you want to win the race, you need to be prepared, and you need to do the research and understand what's going on. And as a recreational wheeler, I mean, I just went through the process of redoing the lift on my Jeep and redoing all the bolts and whatnot. So I know what the bolt sizes are and what wrenches I need and whatnot. And there's nothing exotic on my Jeep in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's all SAE.
How many E's?
There's a lot of extra E's.
SAE, really?
Take it easy.
But I do carry a complete set of metric and SAE sockets.
It is. It's extra easy if it's on there.
One more E in there.
Sockets and
Society
deep socket,
of Automotive Engineers.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
Tearing into me.
He's giving you shit. I love it.
I carry a complete set of wrenches and sockets, both SAE and metric.
Hey. Was your dad a TV repairman?
Hell yeah, he was.
You remember that?
And he had a rad set of tools, and I can fix it. He's in a shit.
Don't worry, man. My dad's a TV repairman.
What's he gonna do? Is he gonna shit? Or is he
there's another component. I don't know that we're gonna get to it or not, but
sounds like we're gonna get to it.
We're gonna get to it right now.
We're doing it right now.
The resourcefulness. I mean, obviously, a half-inch wrench is a half-inch wrench, but then it's like, what can you do with what you have? Like, you don't really figure that out until you're on a trail. Or until you've seen somebody do it before. The first time somebody showed me how to hook a box end wrench onto an open end and increase my leverage.
Oh,
yeah.
Like as a 14-year-old, that like blew my mind,
So it's like a breaker bar.
I remember running around KOH. We were trying to squeeze a Johnny joint back together enough to put the clip in it. And I was running around all the addresses, like on my Nitto Street or whatever, see if anybody had a C-clamp. And they were like, well, what do you need a C-clamp for? And I was like, well, I'm trying to squeeze this Johnny joint together. And they go, well, there's a tool just for doing that, right? And I was like, no. I don't have that tool. I just have a Johnny joint, like sockets, And they're like, so then I run down to the next. Of course, they didn't have that. They just wanted to tell me there was a tool. Then I go to the next pit, and they go, well, we got a ball joint press or C-clamp, and I like light bulb ding. I brought a ball joint press, but it didn't even cross my mind that a ball joint press looks almost identical to a C-clamp.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, never mind. I'm good. I'm just an idiot. And I ran back to my pit and got out my own tools and fixed it. So I mean, the resourcefulness is a huge part of it.
Just because it's a combination wrench doesn't mean that it can't be used for something else, right? So, as a hammer, all that stuff, screwdrivers, a chisel, all that stuff. But, yeah, you're right. It is learning to be resourceful with the tools that you have, and especially when you're out in BFE on a trail, trying to fix something. And like I've said this before on the podcast, I secretly like when somebody breaks down. Not me. I don't want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy.
But
you want to be that guy.
But to come up with some incredible repairs.
Yeah.
And pulling, parts off of the rig to fix another rig, bolts, whatever it may be. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And using those wrenches like that, it is. So, yeah, I mean, we could go through 100,000 different scenarios here, but so what do you carry? So to sum this thing up, you obviously need the basics. I mean, screwdrivers, pliers, duct tape, baling wire,
butt connectors for
electrical stuff. Carrying some spare wire and stuff, and fuses, and
black electrical tape.
Yeah, I mean, the list can grow very, very quickly.
The basics.
But I think what I've heard tonight, and I totally agree with, is working on your vehicle. And if you don't work on your vehicle and you're like, hey, I'm not mechanically inclined, I recognize that I'm not mechanically inclined, so I pay somebody to work on my rig. That's great. But talk to that person that is working on your rig, like, hey, what should I have in my toolkit? Basic tools, right?
Hold on, let's cover that then.
Okay, let's go.
If you don't work on your rig and you don't know how and you don't have the tools, but you like to go trailer wheeling, what do you bring?
Well,
you better bring a shit ton of beer and money to give your friends.
So exactly.
That's
libations. Because
very cold beer.
We saw that on social media, Facebook. There was Bay Area Jeep Baja, SF Baja. There was a discussion last year. A guy was on the trail on the Rubicon, and he got off the Rubicon. He was over, at the end of the trail, over on the west side of Lake Tahoe. And he's like, okay, I got some problems with my rig. Before I drive home, I need to find a place here that can fix my shit. And I mean, this was a legit question. I'm like, is there a shop that can work on my junk right now so I can drive back to the Bay Area? And I'm like, dude, really? You seriously need to know how to work on your junk by yourself, because at the end of the trail, there is not a shop that's just sitting there waiting for you to arrive so they can fix your shit.
WFO does house calls out on the Rubicon.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, with that old Red Willie's.
Yeah. Oh, Danny in Red Wet Willie. Wet Willie? What does he call that? Yeah. Red Wet Willie?
That's a rare.
I don't know. That thing's badass, and Danny's a good guy.
You gotta
Any of those guys at WFO are badass, but. So no, you're right to a certain extent, but yes, I think the answer to that is, hey, bring beer,
beer,
because beer will get you a lot out on the trail. If you don't know what's going on, and you'd be surprised at what people are carrying in their rigs.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I've seen you give JB Weld to people just because.
There's all kinds of stuff, just random stuff that comes out of rigs, and it's like, hey, dude, can I? You need a beer? Yeah, sure, I'll take a beer.
Water?
Yeah,
whatever.
I think there's a ton of guys like you, Jason, that secretly look forward to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you start running a trail multiple times, like you run that trail, so what are you looking for? You're looking for a new experience, right? So when Joe blows Toyota,
Well, we've all been there, right? Starting out, and it's like you don't know what to bring. You're not whatever. And I always stop if I see someone pulled over, and it's like, are you good?
It's going to add to the experience. Yeah. It's going to add to your story. Like, and I think genuinely, what does Wyatt Pemberton always say? I love people, but I hate humans.
Yeah.
And I get it backwards. I don't know.
I'm the same.
But
way.
like, you see somebody on the trail struggling, you want to help them. That's just good human nature.
You don't want anything bad to happen to them.
You don't have to know how to work on your stuff, but you better have a refreshment for the person that volunteers to do it. So.
Yeah. So I mean,
we
but
all-
just
we
there's
all
no
think they
excuse,
should
even
know
if
how
you
to-
don't even know how to use the tools. There's no excuse for not having like
Yeah,
a basic
for sure.
toolkit
Right.
in your rig.
It takes nothing to
Yeah.
fill
And
a zippered tool bag with
The basics.
the
The
basic
basics.
tools, and we're just talking tools. We're not talking spare parts because
No, right.
we could spend a whole nother episode
it's-
on spare
it's-
parts you should carry.
What's the limit? I mean, are you carrying an axle shaft, a drive shaft, an alternator, a fuel pump? I mean,
Spare engine,
spare engine.
you
I mean,
know.
what?
What
I mean,
do you- transfer case?
Was it
Extra
you that
transfer
mentioned
case for
you got
torques?
friends that you know people that basically carry an entire rig. In their
Well,
rig?
pretty much. I've known some people like that over the years, but no. So we're just talking tools here. So just having a basic tool set, which
Exactly.
you could go down to, Harbor Freight, Home Depot, Lowe's,
But
wait,
wait.
and just buy a
But wait,
basic
there's
tool
more.
set. But wait, there's more. If you act
No,
now,
I'm
Chris
just-
is going to throw in a Ginsu
again,
knife set right now, Kevin.
I'm
Here we
just
go.
saying,
Go.
So there's so many people now today
Yes.
that they buy their new rig, their
Okay.
$50,000 JK or JL,
Okay.
and then they take it to
With
wherever
the latte machine.
and they have somebody bolt on their lift and
Right.
they're
Do
this
the
and
work.
they're
Okay.
that, and
That's
they're
great.
the other thing.
Okay.
And then they go out and they hit Deer Valley or they hit fucking
Okay.
Rubicon or Fordyce and
Right.
they break their shit and it's like, hey, I don't know how to fix this. Somebody's got to deal with it. And they literally don't know how to do it, but it's the sense of adventure. And I get frustrated with that because they bought a Jeep because it was a cool thing to do and they wanted to go off-roading.
That doesn't frustrate me. What frustrates me is if they're out there and something breaks, and they get assistance, but then they walk off into the woods with their lunch pail and beer
I remember
and don't even
that.
help. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So
Was it a Grand Cherokee?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I've helped people, and I don't care. You don't know mechanics, but you can hand me a freaking wrench and help out, and you can watch and learn.
Learn.
Watch.
Shade me with an
Watch
umbrella.
and
for
learn.
crying out loud.
Yeah, and keep my beverage cold and full, whatever. But it's and there's plenty of YouTube videos out there if you want to
Exactly.
learn more about your rig or whatever. But there's no substitute for actually getting your hands dirty and pulling shit apart and going, oh. That's how this works. That's how this goes together. But if you are like zero knowledge, I don't suggest you going out to your garage and start tearing shit apart because you may not get it back together.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Okay,
is
so
if
what's that?
If you buy a Jeep, whatever it is, whether it's a YJ,
Say it's a
TJ, JK,
white
JL,
JL.
whatever,
White JL with a latte machine.
and you need to, and hopefully you have the desire to work on it, understand what's going on, build it, and then understand the tools. As we're talking with Kevin here, what tools you use to build the rig and what tools you need to fix the rig if the rig breaks on the trail. And that's what should be in your tool bag. And
I know,
that's
but
really the bottom line.
But that's true. But like back, devil's advocate here. I'm Joe Blow. I don't have any mechanical knowledge. I bought a rig. I want to go four-wheeling, and I paid for somebody to build my rig up, which is fine.
That's fine.
That's great. So you have no mechanical knowledge of your rig other than you put the key in the ignition, turn it, and you go, you know how to put it in low range and how to engage the lockers and everything. So when something goes clickety-clack in the front end and kaboom,
Little kaboom, yeah.
and we all know that sound, that's a front axle
Yep.
that just blew, and the person has no clue what that was. And then you go, okay, well, AAA, nope, my cell phone doesn't work out here. So,
What if I just turn the radio up louder?
yeah, turn the radio up louder
Radio
for sure.
Step one.
Step one, having a ham radio to call for assistance.
On
You
the
should be
805.
wheeling with a buddy.
Yep.
All this stuff. But anyways, it is a crazy sport, and there's more to it than just going out for wheeling. And how prepared you can be. Now, you can't prepare for every freaking scenario.
No, I understand that, but go ahead.
With the picture that I just painted, somebody that doesn't have the mechanical knowledge, doesn't know what's going on in their rig, you should make the knowledge or the effort, I should say, to learn and or find a really good friend that's mechanical to go with you that's going to help you out along the way, because it's not if or when you're going to break, it's you're going to break at some point in your four-wheeling career.
Right,
I don't care how well your rig's set up.
Yep.
I don't care how good of a driver you are. I don't care how much freaking money you put in your rig. Something is going to freaking break.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be anywhere from a 10-cent part to a freaking $10,000 part, but something is going to break at some point.
Let me say this: your CJ5 is very well set up, and I have witnessed you break.
Well, I broke numerous times.
4 times.
Bad. I've broken bad before.
So the number
Breaking bad.
things I've actually on that one trail run, you broke a leaf spring on the way down.
Correct.
And on the way up, you broke
That was
an
4
output,
dice.
on an output shaft.
Oh, that was really bad.
Same trail run.
Yeah.
And
It was
then
a bad day.
I've seen you rip a caliper off.
Yeah. Yep. No brakes.
And what was the other? Oh, we were on Barrett, and I watched you rip a heater hose off.
Yeah.
So,
Those last two are easy. So you rip a caliper off, you better have some vice grips with you, right?
Right.
Because then you can just crimp. You can just crimp the brake line, and okay, now you got 3 brakes, which is fine.
3 out of 4 ain't bad.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. And on the trail, it's okay. Now,
Exactly.
I wouldn't drive 600 miles to Arizona like that, but heater hose, I just took the good hose and looped it back, and the system was closed, and off we go.
And we had
I didn't have a heater.
We had no heat on Sunday.
But anyways, there's so it's just a lot of experiences, and how do you fix it? And
I've got like a theory too that I convey to people, and typically it applies to dirt biking, because I work with a bunch of guys that ride dirt bikes and do different trips. But I'm a huge believer in don't do anything mechanical or change anything mechanical or do service before a big trip. And the reason I say that is because, I'm going on a big trip, I want to change my oil. Well, you just disturbed an oil filter and an oil drain plug that were happy for the last 3,000 miles. So let them go 500 miles over.
You don't want an unhappy filter.
What happens if that gasket on the new oil filter you picked up isn't quite great, or you didn't get it tight enough, or you're about to strip out your oil drain plug? Like, that's when it's going to give you trouble. Guys with dirt bikes love to put new tires on. Well, you're slinging all these tire irons around a tube tire. You're bound.
Pinch that tube.
You're bound to pinch that tube, and you truck your bike for.
They want those sharp edges on their new.
Truck your bike for hundreds of miles, unload it, and then you get a flat in 5 minutes because you pinched your tube. So, don't mess with a good thing. Whatever mechanical. He points to race cars all shredded.
No.
I'm like, you're tearing your car apart before KOA, so you just
hey, no. As long as it doesn't change the oil, we're good.
Don't change the oil or the filter, we're good.
You've got to have something that's proven. Is the point of like the concept.
No, I get it. We understand. We understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you put new tires on, and then you find out you got fender flare rub or something like that.
That's true. If you change something,
there's a variable
need to
there.
test it.
So
you need to test it for
sure.
And I
that's
tested
huge.
and I understood what I needed to do, and I got a Sawzall.
Jason wanted to put RCVs and water in his tires, but
and I did it right before
he
a trip.
was super sketched out that he was going to trailer his rig all the way to
and I did
Trail Hero.
And he added that weight, and he had a blowout.
Did he?
Just saying.
Oh,
no, that was on the truck.
I know, but you never know.
It was not on the refrigerator side, which the refrigerator was stuffed with food and beer and everything. I was surprised. So this was on the non-refrigerator side. Anyways, that's a whole other story.
But
but I know, but it was the opposite tire. I thought that would blow.
Here's a work related example, and I don't typically use these, but every time we get a vehicle fire at work, I typically ask the owner or driver, hey, you didn't happen to have any work done on your car recently, did you? And they're like, yeah, actually, I just picked it up from the shop yesterday.
Shit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, something was obviously left near an exhaust manifold, or there was a tiny fuel leak or something like that. So
Right.
Are they usually Toyotas?
Nice.
I think they came from Toyota shops.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, most barbecues that I see on the side of the freeway are generally Toyotas.
I've never heard that term.
You've never heard barbecue?
You never heard
Never heard
barbecue?
that. I love it.
Oh my God!
Awesome.
Yeah, barbecue.
Wow.
I never want to experience that. That's why we carry Element fire extinguishers.
Barbecues, and for a while it had been very chronic that it was Toyota Corollas, and what would happen is these are older Toyota Corollas, and the fuel rail would leak and blow gasoline on the exhaust manifold.
What was the
Ford?
the Ford,
my Ford has a
Pinto?
recall.
Was it the Pinto?
Oh, that was a
or-
rear end collision thing.
Yeah. So
so-
what was a bad day? There was a car that had a gas pedal failure too, where it'd go full throttle. So you were having a bad day if you're driving a Ford Pinto and there was like an Audi behind you or something.
It was a
that had
Prius.
gas pedal
Yeah, the
thing.
Prius had the stuck
Prius-
gas.
Yeah, so it rear ends you and then the car would blow up.
My older brother.
This is going way off the tool
we're
category.
way
We're so
off.
far off the
Yeah.
My
fucking
older
rails
brother
right now.
had a Volkswagen
Jesus,
Rabbit
squirrel.
back in the day.
Yeah,
Volkswagen
Rabbit. Yeah.
And his we were getting on the freeway. I was a kid. We were kids. He was 17 or something, and I was 15 or whatever. And the throttle cable had frozen, so he picked his foot up and it didn't stop accelerating.
Oh, yeah, that's
wide
not
open
good.
throttle. I was like,
That's not
holy,
good.
what are we going to do
Right
now?
away.
It's like, turn the engine off.
All right.
Anyway,
So this kind of led me into another deal, and this could be a whole nother podcast here. Kevin, tell me your worst trail break that you've either experienced yourself or seen on the trail. Worst trail break.
I might need a minute. Do you guys
Okay.
want to tell a story? Let me
Chris,
rack
you got
my
one?
brain.
Worst trail break that you've seen or witnessed that
my
you've
worst trail
experienced.
break was pretty minor, actually, because I don't brake, because I don't wheel.
Valve stem blowout. What do you got?
I had a
But
fuel.
you've been on a lot of different trails. You didn't.
I
see
had a
anybody?
fuel leak that was people noticed
excuse
something
me.
leaking from under my rig, and I'm like, one of the fuel lines by the fuel filter on my Jeep, which is on the frame rail, the hose clamp had come loose, and it started blowing gasoline
Fuel?
all over the place.
Okay.
I was able to fix it pretty quick, but that's
No
my
fire?
worst. That's my worst. No fire. Thank God. There's no heat there. It was exhaust systems on the other side. That's my worst, which is nothing. Minor,
Interesting.
because I'm badass.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it never hits the trail.
You got. I was gonna say.
Really? No,
Shit doesn't
dude,
break in the garage very
I've
often.
done Ford Ice. I did Ford Ice all the way down, man.
Way
no
back
breakage.
in 1914, I did Ford Ice.
I did Ford Ice in
The one that comes to
2011.
mind,
Here we
it's,
go.
it's not even a trail one, but it's such a, I don't know, just a solid memory that I just can't shake. I had a 1966 Toyota Corona, which is a sedan. And
It was
66.
it was awesome.
How old are you?
39?
You weren't even born yet when that car was
Oh,
built.
God, no.
I wasn't even born yet, and I'm old.
wow.
Holy shit.
I bought it for $500. That car was rad. It was a 4-door sedan. It had like the way predecessor to a 22 RE, like an 18 RE or well, not an E because it wasn't
wasn't E,
injected.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It was just an
It had
R.
a 2-speed automatic. Anyway, I drove that car everywhere. It was awesome. But I remember I was driving it home from my machine shop job one night in the rain on the highway, and it blew a heater hose, but on my side of the firewall,
Oh man!
and it showered my feet with scalding hot coolant.
Shit.
And at the same time that I was screaming like, "Oh F," it fogged the inside of the windshield.
Oh, so
because it was 200 degrees.
So steam everywhere.
It
Yeah.
steamed the windshield in the rain while my ankles were on fire.
You didn't get burned from that?
It didn't blister, but it looked like a bad sunburn or something. I had pants and boots on because I was coming from my work, but I couldn't tell where I was going. I was doing my absolute best to like guess which way the road was headed while I brought the car to a stop. I ran off the shoulder and like high centered the car on like the shoulder / berm / curb, and it all just came like skidding to a stop.
Oh, Jesus.
And I got out, and the entire driver's side floorboard was just filled with like bright green coolant, and the inside was just steamy and had that wonderful like sweet smell of coolant.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And I got out, and I was just like, what the F, you know? And I had cell service, so I called. Of course, I was like a broke-ass
So wait
teenager.
a minute. You're driving a 1966 car and you had cell service?
It was like that Nokia, that early Nokia.
Yeah. Flip phone.
This was probably like 2002 or something.
Holy crap.
And I called my girlfriend to come get me, and she was going to be coming on the other side of the highway. So I crossed the highway in the rain. I'm standing in the rain. And in the meantime, like, highway patrol shows up, and they're looking at my car, and they're trying to figure out, like, how the F it got stuck on the side of the road. They don't even see me, like, 30 feet away on the other side of the highway. And I'm just standing there shivering in the rain. She comes to get me, just takes me home, whatever. I decide I'm just going to come back the next day to recover my car.
Right.
Brought my dad's truck. Like, we tried everything we could to, like, chain and drag this car up the embankment and across the shoulder. Spent hours trying to recover this Toyota Corona off the shoulder of the highway, all because of a blown heater hose. But I don't know. It always stands out in my mind. It's like one of those just
That's quite the adventure
freakishly
there.
weird car days.
I mean, he reminisces with that story. Right? That brings up. I mean, I thought we were talking about off-road things, but
I went off road.
oh, you did.
You were off-road.
Well, I mean, I think about my in high school. I had a Toyota Celica. It was my hand-me-down car from my
What
dad. 77.
I had a 76.
It was a 20 RE. 20R.
Let the record show that I've never owned or driven a Toyota.
It was a Toyota Celica.
Well, I've driven a Toyota before, but not that I've owned.
I've owned multiple Toyotas.
Was it a hatchback or the trunk?
It was the trunk.
Oh, I had the trunk
This
too.
has become the Snail Trail podcast now, talking
Anyway,
about Toyota.
it was
Toyota
a cool.
talk.
I enjoyed my Toyota Celica GT. That was a good little car. 5-speed, had air conditioning, roll up and roll down. We had manual windows. Anyway, I had just filled up with fuel at a gas station in Connecticut, and I needed to. I was leaving the gas station. I was going down the road to the road. Well, going down the driveway, back out to the road.
Okay,
and my brakes failed. Not
no brakes.
Did they not
like pedal to the floor?
Oh yeah.
failed?
What happened was, well, I don't know what happened, but at the time I didn't know what happened. But the brakes failed, and I rolled. I uncontrolled onto Route 6, which was a major road. Okay. So I grabbed the handbrake, the e-brake, and I looped around and went up into did a quick turn into the next driveway, which was another gas station, and called my dad, and he said, "Well, I'm going to send have somebody come tow your vehicle to our people that fix cars for us."
Right.
Anyway, the mechanic called me later and said, "Hey, your one of your front calipers broke."
What?
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like hanging off?
No, it was gone.
She gone.
The everything was gone. The caliper, the shoe, the pads, they were gone. There was no. It was gone.
Just gone. She gone.
Which was, I've never had a brake caliper freaking just go away.
Happens.
So, and it was a Toyota. Anyway, that was on road, but that was one of the craziest failures I've ever had in my life.
All right, so that concludes the on-road podcast here at Wheeling Wine and Whiskey.
So have we covered all the bases with regards to what you need to carry in your rig? So as you work on your rig, your
this
off-roading
became a whole
rig,
separate podcast now.
That's all right. That's what happens. Rabbit.
As you work on your rig, you need to just take note of what tools you use and put them in your rig. Keep them in your rig so you can work on your shit.
Know how to use them.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to work on your own rig, then carry those tools with you. And if you don't, carry lots of beer for those that are going to work on your rig.
Right.
That's the summary right there.
Or cash, because cash is king. Just saying.
Anybody want to hear my worst breakdown story?
Yeah, I'd love to hear
it.
I already probably know which one it is, but let's hear it.
Which one?
Ford Barrett with the steering.
Yeah, Barrett steering box was probably the worst. Steering box bracket separated from the frame, and it was not good. No steering is no bueno.
How long did it take you to get back to the trailhead?
A long time.
Has your cousin ever wheeled with you again?
No. Yeah, no, it was that was a shit show and a bad break. Did a lot of ingenuity. Ended up the best fix was taking the winch, and I had a wire winch rope at the time, and basically wrapping it around the frame and the steering box and sucking that winch as tight as I could to hug that steering box to the frame. And it worked somewhat okay, but it was amazing of how loosey-goosey that whole thing was. And anyways, yeah, we made it off the trail, but having no steering is really no bueno.
It's kind of an important thing.
It's a very important thing because, you lose power or something, you can jerk the vehicle, and you can sit there and steer it. But when you have no steering...
Well, shit, Ultra4Jones finished the race without steering.
Well,
yeah, but at least the wheels were still connected.
Yeah, that's
true. That makes me think we ripped a upper control arm off the frame of a side-by-side one time, and it just tucked all the way back into the wheel well. And we ended up pulling the winch out, running it around the side of the frame, grabbing Lark's footing the upper control arm, and then sucking the winch back in just to pull essentially the top ball joint back enough to keep the thing together and drive it back.
Sure.
Yeah. Ingenuity is really your limiting factor.
Exactly. It really is, and it
really
is amazing as some of the shit that we pulled off over the years to get vehicles back to camp. And it's experience and being out there and seeing stuff and like, okay, let's try this, let's try that.
And having things with you. And I know I've heard of stories of people using their high lift jack to fix things, and some people
high lift jack handle we use several times.
They're not. Some people are like, I'm not carrying a high lift jack anymore. It's like, you need to just carry the high lift jack just because it could be like an important spare part.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. Hopefully, this session you've learned something. And
well, hopefully it invokes some thinking. Hey, do I have enough shit? No, you never have enough shit, and you're never going to have everything.
But hopefully, you wheel with people that do.
Just carry the basics and
Exactly.
go with people.
Right.
And hopefully, you go with people that are super mechanically inclined to figure shit out.
Like Jason.
And if you ever want to make sure you need something, take it out of your rig.
That's right.
Because you'll need it the very next trip.
You'll need it the next trip. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. With that,
we're out.
So what did you think of that?
Oh, man. All sorts of great information.
There was some good stuff that came up. Different schools of thought. I still really like the Harbor Freight tool package that you buy a cheap-ass complete tool set. That's going to get you 90% of the tools that you need.
And if you drop it, who cares?
You lose it, you drop it, you got to cut a wrench and weld it, whatever the hell, out on the trail. You got to use wrenches to weld to your frame or whatever you got to do to get it going. There's something to be said about that, but I do love high-quality tools. Of course, I grew up as a craftsman man, and those aren't super expensive, but they're great tools, and I still have those tools today. But I'm really liking this new gear wrench stuff, or new to me, I should say. But those quad boxes and stuff, just trying to eliminate weight, but yet still have options.
Well, not only that, but I mean, look at your challenge in the buggy, especially is space at this point. I know you and Hussman have been, bouncing ideas back and forth about how to create space.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys will figure that all out.
It's a roof rack. I'm going to go roof rack.
Well, there you put 500 pounds on.
Just put a bunch of weight up high. That's really good for off-roading.
Nice. So, but yeah, absolutely. You just want to make sure you have the right tools for the job. Everybody knows their rig. Every rig's different.
Yeah.
You need, and that was one of the questions I asked, Kevin, I believe in this thing was, do you just work when you're in the shop? Do you work with the tools that you have in your rig, or do you use tools that are in your toolbox that you wouldn't have access to? And he had answers to that.
He did, and it is, and it's it's like, is it the one specialty tool that you use once a year, or what do you carry? So, for what it's worth, I think that was a really good discussion, and there's definitely going to be more discussions on this topic coming up, and I've actually, I threw a little tease out there, but getting Jimmy involved, I guess we'll have to include Tyler. I don't know.
Who?
Tyler from Snail Trail.
I'm sorry, my hearing aids.
You're still working on that. Anyways, I want to get a good list going and get the basics, and then it's like, oh well, if you got this, and this, then you should carry that. Whatever.
And we could even publish that on the website.
Heck yeah! I mean, we got some technology that we can utilize
living
here.
documents. You know?
So if you got any ideas or any input on this episode, we'd love to hear about it. I'm wanting to get a really good, comprehensive, lightweight, usable tool set for the buggy and for the Jeep too, because I could definitely lighten up that operation.
Well, that new steel coming out. It's called unobtainium.
Unobtainium.
Yeah, it's very lightweight.
Is it?
It's super strong.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. So please reach out to us if you've got some ideas on the old IG there. Wheeling Wine and Whiskey. Of course, we got our emails, Jason and Chris at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com. Lorenzo doesn't even check his emails anymore, so don't even bother emailing him.
Nope.
And then, we're going to be at KOH, so just come look for us.
That's right. Hope you enjoy this episode of After Hours with Wheeling Wine and Whiskey and
After Hours.
Kevin Jones.
All right. And with that, I think that's all I got.
And that's all I got.
All right.
We're out.